Good, Steve. Bring him in.
Oh, Paul, I didn't get too much of that. I think he said his name was Wayne.
But he was much stronger 2 minutes ago, but not now.
Oh, sure. You expect me to believe that?
I always hear George fine, but I'm sorry, VA1DWG. I think you said your name was Wayne. You're just, there's static crashes here at my QTH, and you're getting wiped out by quite a few of them, so I can't really copy you all that well. I'm going to pass it down to Paul. Maybe he heard a little better than I did. WA3VJB, KB1VWC.
Oh, yeah. Put me on the spot, will you? All right. No, I thought even George was hearing him. And George, did you pick much out of that? Did you say that you were hearing the VA1?
I believe so, but I'm now confused.
Well, who is he and where is he? Did you pick anything out besides VA1VWG? I guess I could look him up.
I'll let you handle that, Paul, because we're in better receipts than I
am. Yeah, he tried again. I'm just not having any luck. Try again in a little while. Stick with us here. If Steve's got any time, he'll visit in here with me for a while, and you can try again if it looks like signals are helping to make the distance. Got much rain up there, Steve? KB1VWC and the group WA3VJV.
No, we did not get, we haven't got any rain really at all, a little tiny bit this afternoon. I guess it's supposed to start later on this evening through quite a bit of tomorrow, apparently, up here. Whatever is in New York is supposed to slowly migrate its way east, or at least that's what the weather prognosticators have said. So today was kind of just a cloudy, murky, occasional rain and drizzle. It kind of rained a little bit about 2 this afternoon, but really not a lot. Nothing like the monsoon seen down in New York City and New Jersey and that area, that's for sure. I don't know. I think it's time to start the arc structure. I think someone up above is trying to tell us something, especially where the rain is being centered. Who knows? WA3VJB and WB2HJK and the VA1 station. I really, oof. You know what? I can probably put a pair of headphones on and I'd have better luck. But in the speaker, boy, I can pick out occasional words, but that's about it. So down to you, Paul, and you pass the number around. WA3VJB, KB1VWC.
Yeah, I put my best set of Sonys on and couldn't pull them out. So maybe that'll improve here. I'll take it up to the top of the hour or something and throw it over to them there. Yeah, I was watching both first ABC's network cast and then NBC's network cast, and they both had varying elements of video from around New York City. It's just amazing to see what happened today. I think one of the more compelling shots that nobody seemed to make much of was water coming through the tiles in the subway of a wall. I mean, they said, and the water was even coming through the walls, but the first thing I thought of was that the wall was about to burst. And nobody seemed to get it. I don't think I'd stand there for too long. And then the other shot was also in the subway with people underground with umbrellas because it was leaking so much. But most of the underpasses are routine places for flooding. We get that here, for that matter. I mean, the scale of it was greater, sure. But you get the same type of idiot who tries to drive through it and gets stuck. And that's what happens, you know. I think this time people were warned. Oh, that was a nice static crash. People this time were warned enough to get out of their basement apartments, which was what happened last time when people were trapped in those basement apartments by rising water, and the only way out was a stairwell that was full of water. They lost some lives in that storm. So this one was a known event, and I think people were more prepared to get out if they needed to. We didn't get anything here. It's just been cloudy, like for 3 days. Oh, I guess a little bit of rain. Nothing to write home about or write to NOAA weather radio about. It's been windy. Haven't been able to get out at all in the boat. But I was thinking about you when it looked like it was going to take a turn up that way. Whether your boat has the extra dock lines on it or not, again. And yeah, you know, this is getting to be a thing. I wonder who needs to get the message that they, capital T, whatever deity may be, keeps repeating the message. Now are you convinced? How about now? Here's another one. And how about now? No? Okay, over here, yes. And you know, oh no, that can't be. This is just cyclical. Cyclical kind of rhymes with biblical, doesn't it? As far as the magnitude of these things. Well, it's nice to hear you down here, Steve. I usually have been spending time with you up on 40. I was telling Ed PTX that I came down here for the Kevin and Jamie show either yesterday morning or the morning before. Got up early and fired up around 6. And yeah, he was listening. Took him up to, I guess, his first green tea. He went away and came back, and we rode it out for about an hour. Nice QSO, which kind of marks the return for myself on this band, with the, except for right there, the post-summer static season. So I'm looking forward to a few months on the radio down here. I don't know if I'm going to get up in the Big 85 zone or not. This weekend, by the way, is the Antique Wireless Association AM Rally, AM QSO Party. So if you hear stations related to the AWA, that's what that is about. I haven't seen it promoted very well, which is typical. But there might be additional AM activity related to that. I think George was signing. I'll try the VA1 Victor Whiskey Golf once again. See if we can't pull you through now that it's been a few minutes. At the top of the hour, this is radio station WA3VJB Annapolis.
I put a set of cans on. VA1DWG, Dog Whiskey Golf, and you're someplace, some Harbour, Nova Scotia, whatever harbour it was, got taken out by a static crash. So tell me what that is again, and also what are you running? It has a little bit of FMing to it, but I mean, I do have a copy on you right now anyway, at least with a set of headphones on, so go ahead. Yeah, I got a little bit of it myself. I had New Harvard on the eastern coast of Nova Scotia. Oh, there he is. Hang on. Yes, I got that. A DX-40 and
HG10, and you're using a little ICO scope. So what do you have? You're probably a DX-40. It's probably 10 watts or so at the most, I would think, on some form of controlled carrier AM.
Happy DeWaine, by the way, Steve, as a name, DeWaine.
Oh, not Wayne, DeWaine. Sorry about that. Yeah, you're having some problems with it. Well, a DX-40, yeah, 40 watts on CW, but in its controlled carrier AM mode, it's probably a resting carrier of about 10 and may peak up to like 15 or so at the most, I would think. Having playing recently with a Seneca, which was its VHF kind of brethren there, they don't put out a whole lot of carrier power when they're sitting still, that's for sure. So I would think you don't have a whole lot of signal, there's no doubt about that, DeWaine, but I am copying you as long as there isn't a huge static crash that takes you out. How's that? But congratulations for getting on the air with some low power AM. You know, if you brought that thing up on 40 meters with that kind of power, especially kind of from 3 o'clock in the afternoon on, you'd have a really good signal. And I would certainly copy you very well because I'm right here on the coast of Massachusetts. I'm literally 500 feet from the salt water, so I generally have no problem copying people up and down the East Coast. VA1DWG, KB1VWC.
Yep, we're good. Thanks a lot. Thanks for taking my call. I know it's a little rough. There's static crashes and everything takes people out, but could you have QSL by any chance?
You gotta say that one more time. I didn't get the question.
You guys, QSL. Queen Sugar Lima.
Queen Harbour, correct? We have a sideband station that just opened up right on top of us here, so.
No, he's looking for a QSL. I'd be glad to QSL DeWaine. I just looked you up on QRZ, and I'm seeing New Harbour. Steve had it right. New Harbour, Harbour, at Larry's River, Nova Scotia. And I got Mr. Gilly as his name, and he's on there. VA1 Delta Whiskey Golf. Yes, I'd be glad to. You even have a logbook on QRZ, DeWaine, so I will enter mine there. And if you'd like a card, I'd be happy to do that too. Although it's not quite authentic because I'm actually using a Kiwi internet receiver to help receive you. So it's not totally authentic that I'm hearing you here at home. You're hearing me, but maybe if I ripped the card in half or something like that, you could have a half a QSL. How about that, DeWaine?
I appreciate the Queen Sugar Lima, and without any problem, and then I'll send one back.
Okay, yeah, you got it from me for sure. And Steve, if you, I don't think you have any QSL cards. I think somebody else asked you for one, and you said you were fresh out.
No, I have QSL cards. I'll be happy to send one up to you, Wayne. No problem whatsoever.
Good. I appreciate that because this is the first that they have talked away on AM, so I don't usually do much AM, only Sunday mornings and Thursday nights if I can get my head wrapped around what day it is. Like tonight for another reason, and I thought tonight was Thursday, so there we go. Just
Yeah, very good, DeWaine. I'm going to tell you something, though, that the DX-40,
if the power transformer hasn't been replaced in it, you probably want to power the HG10 not from the DX-40. The DX-40 has this nasty history of losing its power transformer, especially if you added the powering a VFO, whether it was the AM1 or the HG10 off of it. So just to let you know, that might be one of the reasons why it's FMing a little bit as well. The power supply in the DX-40 is kind of right on the brink. And you might be one of the few people who still have the original transformer in one, if it is the original transformer. But I will be happy to QSL with you, sir. Very good on the Thursday, and I think you said Sunday. I think Sunday you guys have a big AM net here. The Canadians have a big AM net here, with some of the people who are running a little bit more power than you are, needless to say. But really nice running into you, and I will absolutely send you out a QSL card. Yes, I have QSL cards, Paul. I kind of print them as needed. How's that? So we'll put it that way. WA3VJB and VA1DWG, KB1VWC.
DeWaine. And watch your QRZ.com logbook for Whiskey Alpha 3 Victor Juliet Bravo. I think you had it right, but that'll get you the handshake here in a minute or two when I get over there and enter our contact. I copied that this is one of your first AM QSOs. Maybe it means on the DX-40, but if it means more generally, very good. Welcome to this part of the hobby. And yes, I'm aware of the Canadian AM activity down here. Matter of fact, I regularly thank your compadres for being on down here long before we were authorized as part of an expansion of the phone bands by the FCC back in 2009. Our phone band did not extend this far down. And although I could hear the AM activity from up north, I couldn't call you back. So we were very much delighted to have the expansion of the phone band that lets us join you down here in the 3700s. Matter of fact, you might, if you date back that far, you might know that when American amateurs were granted this part of the phone band, we had an AM band warming party at the stroke of midnight, which is when the regulation took effect as published in the Federal Register. There were stations all across the country that activated down here on AM, kind of like planting a flag on the moon. And we had ourselves an AM band warming party, partly as a tip of the hat to our friends up north in Canada there, DeWaine. So thank you for the contact tonight. Definitely worth sweating along with you here to make a copy. Victor Alpha 1 DWG Delta Whiskey Golf at New Harbour, Nova Scotia, with KB1VWC to take it, WA3VJB. 73 DeWaine.
Just to get the adapter predistortion kicking in properly. Well, anyway, sounds good. That's not a bad idea. That's really not actually, that would be fun to do, wouldn't it? See if you can, here's the problem right away. What I think of is when you want to do something clever like that, you end up running into the bean counters who want you got to have insurance. Now, where are you going to get insurance to cover a single event like that? How much is it going to cost? You just don't know these days. But it would be fun to be able to go and use some of those facilities, right? Load up big tower, do a 160 contest or a special event station, get a special call sign for it. Yeah, so that's sort of like the thing you did with the Thomas Boyd EMS, that he was in that group, at least one of those groups, and a few others, I think. Took a boat there and set up. You operate like crazy for hours. So it's probably not for the older generation to do, because they're going to probably want to sleep, and they don't want to sleep on a hard floor. That would be hard. That would be tough. Some people are set up for it and some aren't. Anyway, very good. So you got me to put my... I just had to turn the front end down a little bit so I didn't overload it. Got my SDR in. I use this, what I use in the morning, and I like this particular one. I'm not acquiring a whole lot of new gear anymore. In fact, I have a backlog of old AM gear that I want to fix up before I pass it along. I had a 32B1 that I used in one of those contests. You were talking about the AWA contest. That's coming up this weekend. I will operate that at least a little bit somewhere along the line. It runs Saturday, Sunday, so that's what I'll probably end up doing. And does it start Friday night at 8 p.m.? Or it might have started already. It's a 057 Zulu, so it might actually be running right now. And we'll enjoy playing around with that for a little bit, but lots of other projects. Although tomorrow is a rainy day. I mean, we're not going to be able to do anything outside. So it'll be good inside. I've been working on a VHF project, which is essentially done, but I just have one more piece, and I can't been able to get to it yet. So we'll work on that and get there. But I am busy all the time. Photography is a hobby, like you, I guess. Really enjoyed that African trip, and I try to walk around in the woods when I can. Like to do flowers and landscapes and animals, lots of animals, and that's really hard to do. I'm developing a skill to take fast pictures, with multiple shots, so that I can maybe catch a really interesting one. But it's got to be pin sharp. I haven't done any stacking yet, but I'd like to try it. Focus stacking to see if I can get it really sharp. And then there's the dynamic HDR stuff, where I increased the dynamic range by taking multiple shots at different f-stops or speeds, usually f-stops, so that you can get a full dynamic range of focus and also light. Good stuff, good to play with. And then there's radio, which takes a lot of time. But I have a sailboat too, so that keeps me... Well, this was a horrible sailing season. Between the travel and the rain and the lack of wind, when it wasn't raining, there wasn't a whole lot of really good sailing days. I already took the boat out of the water a little early because of this work I'm doing, but that won't happen again. So next year, if I don't use it enough, I am going to consider getting out of boating. That would be horrible, but I guess I've got to consider it, because there's no sense in having a boat if you're not going to use it, especially at today's rates. And your signal's holding up nicely, by the way. WA3 VJB came out.
Top of the hour, WA3 VJB Annapolis. From QSO with K1IC. 600 yards from Long Island Sound. Yeah, it's going to be a tough day when you decide to sell. I think Steve's having the same problem getting out on the boat. Last time I talked with him was up on 40 before tonight. And we usually, you know, swap a couple of boating stories. You've got the Annapolis Boat Show coming up in October. If you get a chance to come down and visit your relatives there, you might time it for the... Oh, actually, you're going to be working. Oh, no, that covers a weekend. You might be able to sneak down for that. Our friend Tom, W2ILA, who used to work for Trimble Navigation, has retired. He's there at Jamestown, Rhode Island. Probably have talked with him on the old Milrad net. He and Brown W1NZR, who has moved from the bunker at Rhode Island to North Carolina, is also not as much into the maritime recreation as he was in years past. Oh, I don't know. We're in our 32nd season now of boating. The boat that we took to the lighthouse was a 1992. No, that was a 1988 Rankin. And yeah, it barely held everything we needed to take out there, including the generator. And that was a wild trip. And the rough-hewn pine flooring of the lighthouse was not very forgiving for those who needed back comfort. But I think we were up most of the night anyway, talking on the radio, and I guess we were 20 years younger besides, so you might be right. I don't know if I could do it again. I'd be up for it, especially when I recently was out there on the Jimmy Buffett tribute. It's like, you know, I could do that again. Well, could I? I don't know. I'd like to think that I would try at least. And good on photography, yeah. I guess HDR reminds me of bracketing in the film world, except they combine it into one digital image. The news photographers who I've hung out with over the years, when it comes to taking the best shot of a moving object, have a technique they called spray and pray. You put it in burst mode. And I get some of my best pictures of our two Labrador retrievers when we were out in the field playing by a spray and pray within reason. I only get 100 frames before the memory has to say, I'm out of breath, and it'll stop. But within those 100 frames, and sometimes I get it down to as few as 27 frames, there will be the magic 2 shots with the ears and the tail just right as the ball is in the air and someone is about to make an interception from the chuck-it ball thrown by the flinging wand. Get some good animal pictures that way. And of course, out on the water, same sort of deal. Most of my photography's there and the dogs. But also the old cars still have the... Did I bring the Datsun to Frank's that time? Or did I bring my grandfather's 64 Buick? I think I brought one or the other, because Frank was a car guy. I probably brought the 64 Electromobile, the deuce and a quarter, that my grandfather bought brand new in March of '64. It was my very first car, and I've managed to hang on to it all these years. Stop that. Who's tuning up? Stop tuning up on us. Yeah, you. Stop that. Go up to 3715. That's the national tune-up frequency. All right, forget you. You're piss weak anyway. And I still have my film cameras. I still got the 120 cameras, the Iconta, square format, Rolleiflex, another 2 1/4. Got the Pentax 6x7. That's a real, feels like a diesel-powered camera compared to the Nikon. So Pam got me one of those either for Christmas or my birthday. I think it was my birthday. And it's a cherished film camera that I've got as a result. And very good on the Anon. Yes, it makes quite a difference. And I noticed the effect of the pre-distortion that you dialed in there, too. Listening on the K1VL, I was listening in stereo sync detection, which tells me in my right ear about the guy tuning up at 3706. I like listening in stereo. It's kind of like being on a boat. There's a little bit of selective fade effect, where one channel or the other, one sideband or the other of center frequency will fade at just a little different rates than the other one. So you get this stereo image, which is kind of cool. And yeah, I've got a set of gear that I have a lot of too. I've boiled it down to just a few rigs that I regularly use now. And the rest of them are just spare stock. You know, if one of them craps out, oh, nice static crash, then I can bring another one off the shelf and plug it in. That's the extent of it. And I wind up using these SDR nodes to a greater extent than I ever would have imagined. I'm in the other room where the computer is, because I only fired up meaning to be on for a little while. The main RCA console takes up most of the desk. I have to light it up, light up the scope, light up a few other things in that same rack, processing. And I can light up about half of that amount by using a small RCA mixer that's here in the front room. Different microphones, the Sennheiser 441, and just drop a mic cable from the small RCA to the transmitter and get on the air with this. So the receiver is not here. So I'm exclusively using the SDR, which is why there was a delay that we doubled 3 and 4 times consecutively. Yeah, that's how come. Timmy calls it a crutch. Sure, you're listening on the crutch, eh? But I find it quite an adjunct to operating, to be able not only to record things for people, like I got the VA1DWG. If his email is good, I'll send him a copy of that as to how he was being heard, at least into Connecticut. I know I wouldn't have heard him here, but also more routinely to hear when the frequency has congested up, shall we say, or as you and I have encountered tonight, when one or the other guy is doubling, and I can let it up immediately instead of having a 10-minute double and have everybody say, oh, perfect double, perfect double, perfect double. Oh, you strapped very well. I heard both of you. So yeah, it's a good compliment to traditional receiverdom here. K1IC, W2GOR, back to you. Nice static.
Okay, sounds good. WA3VJB, K1IC. Let's see now. First of all, got to tell me a little bit about what Carol's doing. You said that, did you say she's retired? I wonder what she's doing. Timmy is, he's a president somewhere now, so I don't know what he's doing. And I don't know where he is, but, yeah, he got what he wanted, I guess, more ways than one. The cameras, yes, when you talk about cameras, I started out, of course, with, like we all did, with a Brownie or one of those little things when you're a teeny little kid. Then when I got into junior high school, I started doing black and white photography. 7th grade, they had a darkroom, and there was a camera club. And it was just a lot of fun. And they even had a big Pentax camera in the safe. I could use that if I wanted to. And did a lot of development, black and white development. Took a course at night, and it was all just terrific stuff. I even had my own darkroom at home, because my father knew somebody who had the equipment who didn't want it anymore, and so he gave it to us. I used it extensively. I did a high school project on development time and exposure using varying half-stop and camera speed for the same photograph, and that was fun. Then I went off to college and had no time for photographing or anything for that matter. Just was a chem major, pretty busy, plus fraternity, and then I was in Pennsylvania, so that when I turned 21, then I would visit the local bars, which was also quite an important activity to do as part of the socialization project. And then when I went off to graduate school, the guy I roomed with had a Nichromat, and I went ahead and I got one. I bought one with an f1.4 50 millimeter primary lens, bayonet type in those days, and then I ended up getting not a fisheye, but certainly a short f-stop, 24 millimeter, I think, and I think I had a 300 as well, and started to play heavily with that. I went into color and did slides because that was the best presentation, and then I would use Mystic Color Labs to develop them. But because they were film and I was a poor student, I didn't do any real fancy stuff because I couldn't afford to shoot 20 shots in a second and blow a whole roll and then get it developed. So I would just play around with that. As when you speak of color, when we were in junior high school, they just came out with the Ektachrome kit. So we shot a roll of Ektachrome, and then we got the kit, and we went through the procedure to develop this film, not thinking it would work. And part of the process involved taking the film after you've treated it with a number of chemicals, taking it out of the tank, putting it close to a number 4 spotlight, and waving it around in a circle for a period of time. I don't remember whether it was a minute or 30 seconds. Then you put it back in the can, and then you continue to develop it further. And we thought this was totally bogus. You're going to ruin this stuff. Well, when it came time to open it up and we looked at the slides, they were absolutely stunning. It was amazing that it worked. What a thrill that was. Yeah, so, but I did, but it was really labor intensive, so we didn't do that often. It was fairly expensive too, because the kit might have cost us $10, and $10 in those days was a lot of money. We're talking the 60s, the early 60s, 63, around in that period of time. Well, anyway, maybe more like 62 or 61. Anyway, after that, after graduate school, I got busy working, and I had another camera, but I didn't do a whole lot with it. And then finally, when I went to Australia, I had just bought a 70S, a Nikon 70S, and I had it shipped over. My daughter shipped it over to me, and I took a whole lot of pictures over there. Really playing with that. I even had a website where those pictures still are. And then when I came back here, I got a 7100. Which I used extensively, and then just recently, before we went off to Africa, I upgraded to the D850, and that's what I've been using. I've decided not to go mirrorless, primarily because I have a lens. It's a lot of money to spend just to get a slightly lighter camera and probably no better quality, so I'm going to stick with this for a while. If there's a real great advance, then I might consider it, but I don't think I'm going to, because what's the point? I've got what I need now, and I'm having a lot of fun with it, so that's good. A lot of, AL1AUX has all these old Hasselblads and things that he just goes on and on about. Quality cameras, So, yeah, but it's fun. Anyway, that's the story on the camera stuff, so I'm still doing that. I'm pretty happy with what I have. I'm considering that maybe if I can find, there's a used 5000 I'm interested in. That may come to pass, and it may not. I'm using a dipole cut for a half wave on 160 meters, fed with open wire lines, so it's a center fed ZEP. And that's my primary, and then I have a vertical. Starts at 40, goes up. It's a Cushcraft R7. and I use that for CW. I've been playing around with the SKCC group, the Straight Key Century Club, in search of becoming a senator. I'm a tribute right now with Navy group level 4 of 8, but I haven't been working very hard at it, so maybe I will later. But that's been fun to keep my up. I have a Navy flame-proof keyer, and I really love that key. It's the best. I also have a Vibraplex bug, but I don't like the way that sounds. I just can't get the perfect kind of spacing. You know, some people say you have a distinct sound, and I can see that. If you don't work at it, you're going to make whatever your hand does makes it sound weird. But sometimes it's really hard to follow too. But so I kind of stick away from that. People love it though. It's certainly a lot easier on you than pounding the brass with your hand. So you have to develop that pounding musculature so that you have the stamina to carry out a long conversation. Otherwise, you know, what can I say? The day's filled. Back and forth. Occasionally I watch a movie. I've been reading more. I've been enjoying reading too, novels and some non-fiction stuff too. I've got a copy of Principia, which is the original work from Sir Isaac Newton. I want to plow through that. That would be fun. And some people wouldn't think it would be, but I thought it was all right. And then there's some really nice non-fiction stories about the New York Chinese community and other things like that I enjoy reading. So, back to you, and yeah, right, WA3VJB, K1IC.
K1IC, WA3VJB. Wow, nice transmission. A lot to comment on. Well, I think back in 1962 or 63, you would have been using E4 chemistry instead of E6. E4 had that weird extra layer in there with lots of toxic chemicals, which was why I think it was phased out. I had a roll of E4 that I got from somewhere, and I didn't know any better, and I sent it off, and I don't think I told the lab that this particular roll of Ektachrome was not E6. So they developed it in alpine monochrome. And the images were there and they could be printed, but they weren't in color. It's because they didn't process it that way. Totally different chemistry. And your aspect of waving the light around sounds like a familiar part of the process too. I never shot color, slide film. I'm a real C41 kind of guy, or else Tri-X. If I'm going for a mood, I'll shoot Tri-X. I loved Ektar 25 when it first came out, and this was in the late 1980s. Not the current iteration, but the earlier iteration, even though you had to find a film processor who knew how to dial out the magenta that inevitably showed up in the clouds by those who were less skilled at developing and printing it. But man, some of those negatives to this day, when I drop them on a scanner, the lack of grain is just astonishing. I don't remember shooting any medium format Ektar 25. I had the camera, but for some reason, I don't remember shooting any of that there. I was mostly, and continue to shoot, Portra 160 or the current formulation of Ektar, which is at 125. And it's a different film. I'm just grateful that Kodak continues to make film at all. I mean, why should they? And Fuji got out of many different types of film, if not all of it. I think they've got some of the scientific films still. But a lot of varieties that used to exist in 35 and 120 are just discontinued. And you'll see, bricks of them for sale in film community bulletin boards. It's like, yes, it's been in the freezer since 1972. Believed to be still good. Oh. Yeah, but film's fun. I heard you mention a couple of your lenses there, the prime lenses. I allow myself zoom lenses. I've got a couple of prime lenses, including a good Nikon that I bought from one of the AP newspaper photographers. He'd gone over to the Canon system, and of course, you know, got out of the F-mount Nikon lenses altogether. So he found this somewhere in a locker and said, "Oh, let's put it for sale." And I picked it up for like $100. A lot of good news flow through that glass, I'll tell you that, Gary. It's got good juju all around it. But you know, I heard somebody say once that the best camera is the one you've got with you. And sheepishly, I will say that 90% of my pictures these days are taken on the smartphone. But I've got everything set on manual, which few people know how to do, let alone do it at all. So at least I'm trying to be creative with the parameters, you know. And the spray and pray is my best friend when the dogs are running. And I think the burst is about 1.5 seconds at a time. You can actually hear it. It's a beat note inside the camera clicking along. And you know, that's totally adequate. What it can't do is very good telephoto. Your zoom is in your feet. But for wide shots and fairly normal shots, 50mm type shots, yeah, it's fine. And even that's an older camera now. It's a Samsung S20. And the reason I'm sticking with it is that it's got an additional SD card, micro SD card, and the thing that the newer smartphones do not have. They no longer have a removable card. When you fill up the internal memory, you're done. You gotta move it off. So here I've got both places to put pictures and video. And it just seems to be a much more suitable camera for me anyway. Mystic Color Lab, yeah, that was one of the ones I used. They were a little more expensive than 10-cent photo. And another one, 1 hour photo, that was a mail order place, but it was right up the street from me here in Greenbelt. But then you had the rise of the Moto Photo chain, one of which was Rival Shopping Center here at Annapolis. And the guy was a film buff. He had 120 gear. And happened also to own a couple of franchises of this Moto Photo outlet. Had all the best chemistry. Whenever I would tell him that I was coming in, he'd change the chemistry, and you know, you get fresh stuff. Had the best printers. Would manually set up the color profile instead of letting it dial it in. He was one of the guys who told me about the difficulty of the original Ektar formulation. And he said, here's what it's supposed to look like, and out came the prints. Oh. I was sorry to see him get out of the business, but of course that was the way it went once digital really caught on. But, you know, I'm grateful for digital, and I'm grateful for film that I can still drop on the film scanner, flatbed scanner, nothing more than an Epson V600, and crank out a 50 megapixel image, you know, mess around with the color to my heart's content. I used to do my own printing of color C41. Guy lived up near Pikesville, Maryland, had a lab in his basement, taught me how to do color printing. That was kind of cool, but man, it's 2 layers of difficult. It's the color grading as well as the contrast and brightness. Not so easy. Yeah, signal's holding up. Now I see somebody on the low side. Yeah, well, let me kick it back to you, Gary. Running out a little bit of energy here. I was up around 6 this morning for first coffee. I'm glad you fired up the Anon, and that perhaps you'll be on over the weekend here with the AWA event. Good running across you again. I've got a picture of you somewhere on Frank's back porch, eating some of that wonderful food that he and Carol cooked up for us. Man, nice memories there. We're losing a lot of good guys on the radio, my friend. And it's definitely a good thing to run across you here. I don't have any news on Carol, by the way. She was teaching, the last I knew, She checked in for that CNN photo op that I told you about, but I didn't directly correspond with her. I just knew that she's like still around and keeping her hand on the pulse of what used to be our place. I always say I worked at the old CNN so people can distinguish it from what it's become today. Their viewership was down to 119,000 on a particular hour this past ratings quarter. Man, that's almost like local cable TV access. Hope they get it together with this guy from the New York Times, who also has a turn, I think, in British television. He won't be another Walter Isaacson at that. No clue. KB1IC WA3VJB.
Well, all right. No problem. Well, it's good chatting with you, certainly. WA3BJB K1IC. Yeah, I'm going to quit for the night, too. What time is it? Yes, 9:30.
Did I really say KI1?
I don't usually go to bed at 10. Sometimes I do, but lately I haven't been. I still have some more evaluations to do, so I think I'll go do them, finish them up. Enjoyed chatting with you and catching up and chatting about cameras. We'll do that again sometime. Yeah, I do enjoy my deal. Right now I have a Zoom 200 to 500 Nikkor and 24 to 150, I think, is the one I normally use. So I'm almost covered with everything. I also had a 24 to 170. Or maybe it was 270, but that was on the that was an F lens. No, it was a D lens, I think. It was not a full frame. So I don't use that anymore. That's for the, it was on the 70, and it was on the 7100. That's right, yeah. So, but carry them around, and I have a backpack and all the accoutrements that go with it, so tripod if I want to sit there and take some photos in the woods. Kind of fun to do. And with stacking, it's even better. But that's a tricky game. You have to learn how to do it, but you can really get really sharp pictures if you do it right. All right, 7-3. And take care of yourself. Talk to you later. My brother leaves in a couple of weeks. He's leaving for Florida. He used to go to Florida. He started out going out for a month with his wife, and maybe it was January, February. And they liked it so much that they started to go 2 months, and they would rent a place for 2 months. Then they found this place with a swimming pool outside, and they did that for, I think, 3 years, 3 months. And then the woman who owned it decided to sell it. And they didn't have a place to go, so they looked around and they found a condo on the 3rd floor right next to the Intercoastal Waterway in Lake Worth Beach. And that is where they've moved. They're now permanent residents of Florida, and they come up here for less than 6 months in the summertime in their house. He saves a ton of money on taxes because he doesn't pay Maryland anything, and he's doing quite well. So they have one car down there because he bikes everywhere. He plays pickleball, does all the things old people do. He's older than I am by 2 years, so I'm not playing pickleball. I'm not doing it. 7-3. One other thing I want to tell you. I was listening on FEF, and I'm having trouble with names now. Steve, WONQAX, was so strong that he was bleeding through on top of you. So, and I think he's on 3885. So, he has this whopping big signal, and sometimes it just overwhelms things. Anyway, that's just an aside. 7-3, WA3VJB. Or maybe I should make up a few different other calls. K1IC, 7-3.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that I said KI1C or whatever came out of my mouth. I'm looking right at it. I started a whole other page, and you're at the top of it, and it says K1IC. You got to go back to GHW. That's all there is to it. And pickleball, oh boy. Well, that's what Pam's doing with her spare time the past couple of years. She's considerably younger than me, and she's playing pickleball in her late 50s, barely 60. And she's enjoying it. Good for her. I don't plan to. My exercise comes from going out hiking with the dogs for a couple of miles a day. They appreciate it. My doctor says, thank those dogs. You're in good shape. So that's where my exercise is. You're a lot more cerebral than I am, Gary. You mentioned some of the literary works that you're reading, and it's like, wow. Now, I just went to Moulin Rouge stage play at Kennedy Center with Pam, and I hadn't been to live theater since Les Miserables. So I guess I'm somewhat shortchanged culturally, both in the arts and also the literature. But God bless you, you know. It's good that you're keeping the gray matter activated like that. And I think teaching will do that too. Some of my best times has been the internship program that I led, not only at CNN, but also, you know, where I went on to. One of those reporters, or one of those interns, has since become a reporter in Charlotte, North Carolina. She's doing great. And, you know, I follow her page, and she was doing hurricane coverage. It's like, oh, yeah, Carly. Yeah, and I remember us running around and me handing the mic to her and saying, here, go do this interview, and I'll be the camera. Her eyes would get big, and it's like, you know what you're doing? And kind of putting her on the spot, which is what's going to happen in the real world. And it paid off, because she's a good reporter. So I hope there are students in your classes who also do well under you and come back to give you a sense of reward. That's good stuff. So hopefully you'll still save a little bit of time for being on the radio, and it won't be so long till we talk again. And maybe over the weekend here I'll catch you here or up on 40. Conditions are good. I show you're about 25 to 30 over, maybe 40 at times on Carmine's node. I just hit 40 on there. I'm not hearing any bleed over from anywhere else. That's funny. We'll have to get a hold of Michael and say, hey, you know, put a filter on your front end. Well, Steve's running remote now, too. He's not even where his transmitter is. And that can be dialed in, and I know some people who he provides access to, and it's pretty funny to hear them at that level of signal. Said, oh, yeah, I'm on Steve's transmitter. Ah, okay. I wonder what Timmy would say about that if he calls the SDR nodes a crutch. What would transmit node be? Catch you later, Garrett. Glad you stuck around. Glad you found you. Right there. Sounded good. Hey, sounds like Gordon. K1IC. Catch you later, WA3VJB.
Yep, I'm running too. 7-3. Oh, boy, the crutch is on. All right, 7-3, I gotta go. K1IC. What a set of ears.
Give you a call or something. Oh, my gosh. But glad you're okay, and sorry about the 1200. I know you love that radio. Well, no, I'm not moving yet. I was supposed to, and suddenly it got delayed for business reasons. So, unfortunately, I did not head out there. But on the other hand, it gave me more time with lovely Christine, so it kind of worked out. Over.
All right, good. Okay, I dropped the... is this audio acceptable? I dialed it back just a little bit. Are we... I mean, you know, this is a sideband rig on AM. It's not going to sound like you guys, but how are we doing here?
The audio is still a little low, but much better than earlier. Paul is 40 over 9, you're S9, because earlier the local signal started suffering. So it's nothing at your station. It's just the way the band is right now, Al. But I'm getting about 75%, and it's great to hear your voice.
Okay, all right. I did bring. All right, I brought up the audio a little bit. Okay, and I don't have much time because I got to take care of business with the wife. But I was just tuning around in the other room, and I caught you on K3FEF's SDR. Well, let me say hello to Paul. And again, Paul, this is Al in Connecticut, on the west side of Connecticut, and we've been flooded here today. I mean, we must have about 5 inches of rain. It just hasn't, I guess now has tapered off. But we've had heavy rain all day. And New York, of course, if you've seen it on the news, New York City is wiped out as far as the heavy rain. JFK was at a stop. There's problems with the airline fuel, and of course the New York subways are inundated. So, Paul, are you copying me? And you definitely do sound like a broadcaster. And I didn't get your call. I'm KB1AL. Go ahead, and the name is Al.
Yeah, hi, Al. Nice to make your acquaintance. I don't think we've worked before. KB1AL. W2GOR from WA3VJB, Annapolis, near the Chesapeake Bay, where it's been gray for about 3 or 4 days now, as you guys got all the rain. Yeah, I watched NBC and ABC tonight, and the footage that they had was really compelling, just amazing. I think the most shocking footage that neither reporter made anything of was the water coming through the wall in the subway. It was coming out between the tiles. And they're standing there, oh, look at that. And the first thing I'm thinking of is that the wall is about to burst. There's probably a huge flood behind that wall just waiting to get out. And it's getting past the grout of the tiles, and it's coming your way, pal. But it didn't, at least while they were in live shot mode. But yeah, gee, the buses with the water up under the seats, the idiots that drove under the underpass, the minivans making a bow wave, all kinds of interesting developments. I hope they can clean up. They're deciding it's probably going to be even more expensive than Sandy at this point. And I didn't hear that you got any additional damage at your location there, Hal, but the lightning strike was probably bad enough. Gee, that's wicked. And that your open wire line was catching fire while you went out to look at it. I had one nearby lightning strike over the years that vaporized the center insulator on my 80-meter dipole, caused the whole thing to come down. I picked up the center insulator in the yard, and the end connector, it's a chassis mount type end connector, was blown out of the phenolic or bakelite structure of the center insulator. It's one of those military center insulators meant for a dipole type antenna with a center hanger. And it just vaporized the whole middle of it. You could see the carbon from what used to be bakelite. And of course the wires were toast on either side of it. And I had grounded everything, so I didn't suffer any damage in the radio lodge, but that was my demonstration of raw power. And yours is far more dramatic than that, especially since you got more than one hit. Sounds like one hit actually got the antenna, with the others near enough to striking ground as you heard the impact of it. Gee, some scary stuff. So, yeah, if you and Gordon want to carry on, that's fine by me. I kind of hung out here to visit with him for a while. That he wants my counsel on his audio, of all people. But I hope that the feedback I've been able to give you is useful. I did make a little air check recording of you, as I usually do, of folks going through a process like this. I like the sound of it. It's got the restored dynamic range. It's got you've dialed out the low-end response to an extent that doesn't sound tubby anymore. Even with good headphones, it sounded exaggerated. I'll use that word. I don't know what you sound like in person, but it has such a preponderance of low-end response that I would bet 9 out of 10 people listening to you would call it voodoo audio, and you don't have that now. It's much more natural sounding without sounding thin. The dynamic range is to listen to, and I think that's where you want to kind of put the super glue on the controls and leave them alone. With that, I shall bid both you gentlemen adieu, coming up close to the top of the hour. It's been nice to spend a little time on the radio here. Al, I'm usually up at the top end of 40 if you ever get up there. Daytimes and over the weekend especially, sometimes in the evening. And I've kind of migrated away from the usual AM corridor around the big 85, 3885, 3870, wherever, to come down here to what's been called Pleasant Valley by the late W1IA, Brent, when the band was first expanded back in 2009. So I like it down here, and you often hear Gordon and myself and Kevin and Jamie and a few other people on here holding forth. So, yeah, I'll write you down in the log, Al. We'll pick it up later and get acquainted with a little more detail. Gordon, nice hearing you on tonight. Glad you checked in. W2GOR at the top of the hour. This is radio station WA3VJB Annapolis.
All right, what a set of pipes. And by the way, Al is a professional voiceover artist like myself too, and like I think you are also, Paul. So anyway, he's done some marvelous recordings of for radio stations. I don't want to keep you on here, but I'm assuming you like this more than the original sound. May I just keep you for 20 seconds for the A-B check? Over.
Go.
So this is the Orban. Actually, hold on a minute, it's not loud enough. Okay, so here's the Orban at 100-something%. I sound a little like you. Okay, poor you. Okay, and then here we go. Stand by. Okay, so hold on a second. Don't listen to that noise. Okay, so this is without the Orban, which is a lot more natural, but this is 130% modulation also. But it is, and forget about that hum, please. That's just some nonsense. But anyway, so there you go. So I don't hear the same average, and when I go over 100%, I hear that farty sound now on the fade outs. So it is not maybe working so well for broadcast. This is the smooth, natural sound. And now we go back to the other mode. Okay, and we're back to the Optimod mode here, which is a little more balanced. So your theory, I can hear it on K3FEF. This is more balanced on every word on the Optimod. Was that what you're hearing?
Oh, it sure is. I bet you Al will agree. It really sounds like a broadcast station there. That's what they do. That's what listeners are used to. And that would be the one I like.
Yes, same here. Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Yeah, you know, people say it's not natural, but actually it's easier to listen to every word, and that's what they invented this for, so that you know, people could hear it on a transistor radio and everything else. Okay, I'll let you go, Paul. Sorry to keep you. Thanks very much. We'll look for you in the morning. Great station, great voice, great mind, great commentary. And no kidding, all kidding aside, and always love talking with you. I walk away smarter, which isn't too difficult. WA3VJB, W2GOR.
Thanks again, Gordon.
Okay, Al.
Yep.
Yeah. Al, back over to you. Great to hear you. And you heard the difference with this Optimod keeping everything at one level. You prefer that through all the staff?
Oh yes, yeah, definitely, yep. Yeah, it's more even. It's almost like adding compression, where it evens everything out, and it gives it a nice tone. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it was just the one strike that we took, and I'm glad I poked my head in the garage. I said, you know what? At first, you know, we didn't know what it hit. And then when I went into the garage and saw a little candle flame by the window, I says, well, wait a minute. And so I went over there. And, of course, you panic. Well, you know what that's like. I panicked. And so I went over to the window. I said, what the hell? It's the wax, or, you know, the plastic between the, you know, the two lines that's burning. And, yeah, of course, and I've burnt that before when I went to go solder, you know, with the torch. And so, and I didn't think of, you know, grabbing a an extinguisher or water or anything. And I said, well, I'll just whack it in my hand, and, you know, I'll put it out. But it was persistent. You couldn't do it, you know, and that plastic stuck to my finger. I said, oh, geez. And then I ended up grabbing something else and snuffing it out. And you know, saved everything. I mean, it didn't even, like I say, it scorched the plywood. It didn't start burning yet, but it was close. So, man, that really could have been bad. Anyway, do we sound passable at least? I know it's nothing like what, you know, you sound like, but how are we doing here on AM, KB1AL?
You sound great. You're at like 80% modulation to my ears now. In the beginning, you were like 40. So if you crank it up 5 or 10 more percent without hurting any linear or anything, you're perfect. Okay, so there was a lot of selective fading, and I was busy in the middle of an audio thing. I'm sorry. I was distracted here, so I just want to get this right. So you had a direct hit, which hit antenna, and some smoke and stuff around the house, and whatever was plugged in or whatever got wiped out. Is it? Did I get the whole story, Al? I'm sorry, I was distracted before.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, the rig that was in this position was connected to the rest of the system. You know, the tuner, the amplifier, and all that, and the tuner and the amplifier survived. They were fine, but this, you know, it blew out something in the electronic control board in the rig. I have other rigs, and they survived because they were not connected to anything. So, so I lost the 1200, but you know, and it was about a week later, and I thought, you know, I know where somebody was trying to sell one. And in fact, I knew the history of it, and it belonged to someone who went SK, you know, and he was trying to sell equipment for the family, but he was selling it. I mean, and they were selling it for what this guy paid for. He bought it used, and so it was what he paid for it, for like a great price of $600. I said, wow, how can I miss that? I'll be up and I'll get it. And so it's exactly the same rig that I had before. So I was very happy to get it. You know, basically, get at a very reasonable price. So I do like the 1200, even though I do have another 1200, but I wanted my second one. So, that's the story. And but the pulse, that EMP, is what, you know, I mean, wipes out electronics, like the garage door opener and the TV upstairs, because somehow it got into the cable system, and cable came and replaced everything. But I lost a TV, and I didn't like that TV anyway. Back to you.
All right, W2GOR, very good. Is somebody trying to break in there with us? Yeah, psychic. It's called K3FEF.
No, I didn't trigger anything. I just turned the radio on. I just heard you say that. I didn't even press anything. Okay, let me stand by just in case somebody else is really trying to get in.
Yeah, there was another carrier.
Okay, not sure. Is that George?
Yeah, I'm not making it, am I?
Making it very strong. It's a big difference. I don't know what you did to your station, but it's sounds like $1 million. Okay, the breaking station, come on in and join us. All right, I guess not. Okay, Al, well, I'm really sorry that you went through that, and of course, you know, that story is dear to my heart. Jeez, I never thought it would happen to you. My question for you, and then I'll turn it over to George, is what caused you to get hit? Was it that the antenna was near the house, or was it that the antenna was connected to the equipment?
Yeah, that was it. That was it. Even though it was disconnected, but I had it going through the slot in the plywood. You know, I had it coming into the garage, and I just out by a foot. So my next time, now what I've done is I'll put the damn wire outside, away from the house by about 5 or 7 feet, where I've got a ground rod, and I'll attach it to the damn ground rod. So yeah, that was the problem. It by coming into the house like that, and really right next to it was our Chevy Traverse, which I hate to see something go wrong with the electronics in the car. The car was okay. Everything major really was okay, except the garage door openers. That was a bummer, which I've replaced already. So, yeah, lesson learned. Yeah, if I had it outside like I was doing before, at some earlier point, I think coming in, even by hanging it and not connecting it to a ground, just letting it be in the open, to let it float. That was my mistake, and I'm going to have to go. She's got a sensor for the blood sugar, and it's been going off, so let me go see how she's doing. But yeah, I just wanted to get that over to you. That first of all, I'm glad you're still local, and two, I wanted to tell you the story. But I better get going. Back to you, KB1AL.
Right. Well, I hope she's doing okay. And great to hear you, of course, not with this news, but great to hear you, Al. Really, I've missed you. And thanks for saying that. I hope to be around a little longer. I don't mean on the Earth only. I mean on the East Coast. So very good. We will talk again. And come on AM more often, because you sound great with your voice. You just sound fantastic on AM. So I called this setting Al on the Optimod. See you later. I hope she's okay.
All right, thanks, Gordon. Okay, great. I mean, yeah, so glad to connect with you, man. I was spinning the dial there on the other room, and on K3FEF. What a fantastic facility that is for everybody. Wonderful. And wait a minute. Who's this talking about music production and recording and blowing his horn? Oh my God, it's Gordon. All right, we'll catch you later, Gordon. It's great catching you. Take care, KB1AL.
Yeah, you too, buddy. Take care. Wow. All right, our next caller is his name is George. Oh boy. Anyway, George, what did you do to your station? Or is it the propagation gods, or what's going on? WB2HJK, W2 Good Old Radio.